One of these tricks sits so close to the edge of your F-150's warranty that Ford would rather you never learn it exists. Another takes exactly 30 seconds foot flat on the floor, engine off, and kills a $150 dealer charge on the spot. A third comes down to 2 quarts of fluid nobody ever tells you to change. At least not until it costs you $2,000 in a rebuilt differential. 7 tricks total, and mechanics don't hand them over at the counter, because handing this over means handing you the exit from their service bay. If your F-150 has ever felt sluggish, shifted rough, or quietly drained your bank account for problems that never needed to exist, you're about to find out why. Here's the part that should bother you. Nobody hid a physical part from you. Nobody swapped a component or covered anything up. They just never opened the folder, and that one omission is the difference between a truck that drives like it's brand new and one that's quietly costing you hundreds of dollars a year without a single warning light to explain why. That's not a shortcut. That's a decision made for you every time you sat in that waiting room. One of the 7 things we're about to show you crosses close enough to that line that most techs won't say it out loud on the shop floor. They'll just do it to their own truck, after hours, and never mention it the next morning. Another one alone is worth more than a full day's labor at the dealership for something that takes less time than your coffee gets cold. And the last thing on this list isn't a trick at all. It's already sitting inside your F-150 right now, quietly draining something every single time you turn the key, and no one at the dealership is ever going to bring it up unless you ask the exact right question. Trick number 7 costs nothing and takes 30 seconds. Let's start there. Trick number 7, the throttle body reset. If your F-150 feels lazier than the day you bought it, like the gas pedal has a delay built in, it's not your imagination, and it's not wear and tear. Your F-150 doesn't use a cable between your foot and the engine. It uses electronic throttle control, which means every time you press the gas, you're sending a request to a computer, and that computer is quietly building a profile of how you drive. Months of gentle commuting and stop-and-go traffic, and the truck actually teaches itself to be lazy. It won't undo that on its own. Dealers charge around $150 for what they call a throttle recalibration. Mechanics do this instead. It's a 4-step reset, and it takes less time than it just took me to explain why the problem exists. Key to on, engine off. Floor the gas pedal and hold it for 10 seconds. Key off, wait 10 more. Then start the truck. That single sequence wipes the learned throttle data completely, and it's one of the most repeated comments across F-150 owner forums, the truck feeling noticeably sharper within the first mile of driving it again. But that's the easy one. The next trick fixes a problem most owners create by accident the moment they install a brand new battery. Trick number 6, the BM's reset after a battery replacement. Since 2011, F-150s have shipped with an intelligent battery sensor mounted right on the negative terminal, and almost nobody knows it's there until it starts causing problems. Swap in a new battery without telling the truck's computer, and the system still thinks the old, degraded one is installed. It applies the wrong charging strategy, overcharges the new battery, throttles the alternator at the wrong moments, and can make auto start-stop behave erratically. Some owners have paid to replace a brand new battery a second time, convinced it was defective, when the real issue was a computer that never got the memo. The fix: plug a $15 OBD adapter into the port under your dash, open the free diagnostic software that talks to it, find the battery module, and run the registration reset. 2 minutes, and that same $15 adapter works on every battery you'll ever install in this truck again. Compare that to what a dealership charges just to register a new battery: $40 to $60 every single time, for the rest of the time you own the truck. One is a purchase. The other is a subscription you didn't know you signed up for. And that matters more than it sounds like, because the next trick is hiding in a part of the engine that's been quietly closing itself off since the day you drove off the lot, and Ford's own maintenance schedule pretends it doesn't exist. Trick number 5, the throttle body cleaning. Pop the hood on any F-150 past 50,000 miles, and there's a black, sticky ring built up around the throttle body's butterfly valve. That's carbon, And it's not on Ford's official maintenance schedule not once. Left alone, it narrows the airflow path until the truck starts stalling at stoplights for no apparent reason. It's a quote we found repeated across F-150 forums, over $300 at a dealership for this exact fix. The actual job is 4 quick steps and an $8 can of Throttle body cleaner. Disconnect the battery, pull the intake tube, wipe down the valve and bore. Rain stall, 15 minutes, stalling gone, idle smooth again for less than the cost of lunch. But here's where it gets uncomfortable, because the next trick involves a part of your truck that Ford's own paperwork claims will never need service at all. Trick number 4, the early differential fluid service. Ford calls the rear differential fluid lifetime. That word is doing a lot of work it doesn't deserve. Differential fluid breaks down from heat cycling and from microscopic metal particles shed by the ring and pinion gears as they wear in, and techs who pull the drain plug at 30 to 50,000 miles on a truck that tows or hauls regularly consistently find that fluid already dark and contaminated with metal. The fix is 3 quick steps. Drain it, replace it with about 2 quarts of fresh fluid, torque the plug back down. 20 minutes, $25. Skip it, and you're gambling against a rear differential rebuild that runs $1,500 to $2,500. Lifetime doesn't mean it never needs attention. It means the warranty clock runs out long before the consequences show up. And speaking of consequences that show up quietly, the next trick is the single fastest way owners destroy an EcoBoost turbocharger, and almost none of them know they're doing it. Trick number 3, the turbo cool down. Every fleet driver and long-haul mechanic does this automatically, without even thinking about it. Almost no regular F-150 owner does, and it's the one omission on this entire list that turbo shops will tell you, if you ask, is behind more rebuilds than anything else that walks through their door. After towing or running the engine hard, your turbochargers are spinning at extreme RPMs and running hot, and their bearings depend entirely on engine oil for lubrication. Shut the engine off immediately, and that oil flow stops instantly while the turbo is still blisteringly hot. The residual heat bakes the trapped oil into a carbon sludge inside the bearing housing. Mechanics call it oil coking, and it's one of the leading causes of turbo failure on this platform. The fix is 1 step after towing, highway runs, or spirited driving. Let the engine idle for 2 to 3 minutes before you shut it off. That's the entire trick. Remember that promise from the very top of this video, something worth more than a full day's labor at the dealership. In less time than your coffee gets cold? This is it. 2 to 3 minutes of doing nothing versus a turbo replacement that runs $2,500 to $4,000 per side. And the next trick fixes a problem that makes even brand new trucks feel like they're second-guessing every gear change. Trick number 2, the 10R80 adaptive transmission reset. If your F-150's 10-speed transmission has ever hunted between gears or slammed into a shift like it couldn't make up its mind, the transmission isn't broken, its memory is. The 10R80 stores adaptive tables that control shift timing, clutch pressure, and torque converter lockup, based on how the truck has been driven and serviced. Heavy towing, high mileage, or a fluid change can leave those tables mismatched to the transmission's actual current condition. Mechanics clear those tables through the same diagnostic tool used for the BM's reset. Run a 5-minute adaptive relearn procedure. Then take the truck on a gentle, varied drive, so it rebuilds its shift logic from scratch. It's a fix that shows up again and again in owner write-ups the same way. People describing it as driving a completely different transmission. Dealers quote this as a diagnostic and relearn service that can run over $100 for something that costs nothing beyond the adapter you already own from Trick 6. 5 minutes, no parts, no dealer visit. And that brings us to the one trick on this list that Ford genuinely does not want getting out, because it isn't a workaround at all. It's a door. Trick number 1, the one Ford genuinely doesn't want you finding. Remember what we told you back at the start, that something inside your F-150 is quietly draining every single time you turn the key? Here it is. Every time your truck's auto start-stop shuts the engine off and restarts it at a red light, Oil drains back out of the cam phasers for a few seconds before pressure rebuilds, and that cycle repeats itself dozens of times a day, every single day, wearing those components down faster than Ford will ever put in writing. That's the drain. It's been happening since the day you bought the truck. And here's the part that actually earns the word illegal in this title. All of this, the real coolant temperature gauge, the cylinder head temperature readout, the switch to permanently disable auto start-stop, the low oil level warning, none of it is aftermarket. None of it voids anything by installing new parts. It's accessed through the same diagnostic port under your dash, using free software. Unlocking settings Ford's own engineers wrote into the code and then switched off. Touch it. And depending on who you ask, you're either freeing hardware you already paid for at the sticker price, or you're tampering with a system the dealer never gave you permission to open. That gray zone is the whole reason this trick sits at number 1 instead of anywhere else on the list. Ford builds something into the truck, and then somebody else, not you, decides whether you're allowed to know it's there. That's not a mechanic's secret. That's not a conspiracy. It's a filing cabinet nobody opened for you, 7 times over, on a truck you already own outright. If you made it this far, do 2 things. Subscribe, because we're breaking down exactly what's hiding under the hood and inside the software of every truck on the road, every week. And drop a comment telling us which of these 7 surprised you the most. We read every one, and it decides what gets torn apart next. If digging into what your own truck's been quietly hiding scratched an itch, you're going to want the same treatment for 3 trucks owners argue about nonstop. We tested a Mustang, a Camaro, and a Challenger past 200,000 miles to find out which engine actually survives that long, and which one starts falling apart long before the odometer gets there. Watch that one next.